Hello there and welcome back to Building the Boys. We now have issue 7 of Hachette's Build the Dalek. So we're building Dome. For this entire pack we're building Dome, and we're going to be doing that for the next pack and a half, I can tell you. But what we're going to be doing in this one is we are going to be completing the light fitting that we made in the last one, and we'll be adding a panel to the dome. So it is what it is, but at least we're not fitting the actual bulb to the dome though, which is a bit weird, but we'll be doing that in the next one. So by the time this one's finished, by the time this pack's finished, you will have a pretty much fully plated dome. But there's still a lot more to go to the dome. I'll come to that later on in the not this video, but probably in the one for issue 10. I'll go into a bit more about what's coming in the next 10 issues, so I can tell you what's coming in right up to issue 21. And something surprising. We're getting something actually really early, which I was amazed at, but we're getting something very early, so tune in for that one. But without further ado, let's get this one open, let's get this one built. At the end of this one, as I said, at the last one, if any of you recognised this absolute nightmare fuel. Well, some of you did. So we're going to be talking about him and the show that he's from at the end of this one, which was, of course, Terrahawks, which was a, let's say, classic piece of 80s sci-fi, British sci-fi. And we're going to be talking about that at the end of each of these, right through to issue 140. We've completed the Dalek, we'll be talking about different British sci-fi. But without further ado, let's get this one open. Let's see exactly what comes inside. Let's talk about how we're going to put it together. If you haven't yet, please remember to like and subscribe. It helps the channel massively. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so let's have a look at what comes in the box. Just quickly, I said this about the Batman ones. This printing, Dalek and Doctor Who, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And I'll tell you why. Having worked in an industry that deals with this, I know what that costs to do. I know what it costs to put this on here. And believe me, I would rather they hand that saving back to the customer than print it on something that, you know, we're going to open and put straight in the recycling. We don't need that on every single one. It's just an observation, but it's just kind of how I feel about it. Yeah, I'd rather they just didn't, you know, just plain boxes are absolutely fine. I don't need Dalek written on every single one. It also limits the amount of secondary use they can use with the packaging, which means a lot of that will just go to landfill, which is another reason to stop doing it. So what do we get in this one? AM screws and AP screws, so we know those go into plastic, we know those go into metal because P is for plastic, M is for metal. Let's have a look what we got. We know what this is because we've seen one of these before. This is the cage, the holder, I suppose we could call it. I will give Hachette this. They have reduced the amount of plastic they use. We used to get so much plastic with these things. So yeah, that was where our light fitting's going to go into. And then we have our large metal piece here, which is our dome panel. I love this finish. It's gorgeous. He's going to be a heavy old unit. Is our Dalek. He's going to have some heft and some weight to him. So that's what we get in this one. So we get 2 sets of screws, we get the holder for the bulb we've been making, and we get the panel. So let's have a look at the instructions and let's get this built. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is bring up the dome we've been working on. Now it's this side here. So this is the mirror of the piece we've already fitted over here. So we're going to slot this one in. Remember, you want to push. It's got to be snug. We want it to push. We want it to pop to make sure it's all secured in, because if you don't, trying to screw this thing in will be a bloody nightmare because the screws won't go all the way through. So push this one down. It needs to be snug. So once that's in, we're going to flip this one over and we're going to screw that in. Now, because we are screwing into metal, we're going to use the 3-in-1 oil I told you about the last time. We're just going to touch the tip of the screw into the 3-in-1 and it will make screwing these in so much easier, believe me. Let's flip this one over. Let's get it screwed in. Okay, so flipping this one over, we're going to put 4 screws. One here, here, one here, and one here to hold that panel in place. Now, as I said, we are going into metal. So I'm just going to touch the tip of my screw into my 3-in-1 oil here. That should help this transition a lot bloody easier. There you go. Lovely stuff. It goes quite a long way. There we go. Right, that's that one. Now we'll put these in at first, but we are going to tighten them up. We'll just get them all in to begin with, and then we'll go around and do a tighten. Let's put this one in here. Sorry, giving you a terrible view there. Just the back of my wrist. You're not missing much, just a screw going in. But thanks to the oil, very easily. Okay, so that's that one in. Two more. One there and one there. Now these look like they're going to be awkward because of the angle they're on and my enormous slabs of meat of hands. I'm not going to find getting into there too easy. No, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. I'm just conscious of going on an angle and buggering the thread, and I don't want to do that. So it's that one in. One more, we'll flip this one over, we'll take a look, and then we are going to do the light fit, and that's pretty much going to be it, because we're not fitting the light fit in this one. We're just getting it ready. Yeah, that's where the awkward is, right? So that... That is right in the bloody way. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. There we go. Right. Let's flip this one over. Take a look what that now looks like. So there we are. That is now in. So we're now nice and symmetrical on the front. This is nice and flush. No wobble to it. I'm happy with that. That's how we're now looking. It's looking good already. Can't wait to see this on here. I can't wait to see all this play. But that's all coming in this issue. Well, in this pack. Next thing we do is going to move on to make the second one of these. Okay, so taking the piece we just got, we're going to take the case in that we got in the last one. We're going to line these up. So there are two pins here and here, two holes there, two pins there. We're going to line those up so those fit. If it doesn't go in the one way, it will go in the other way. So that's not going to happen. So let's rotate that round. It's got to go this way. So there'll be a fat pin and a thin pin, and then they will line up, they will go in. I've got an angle there. There we go. Huh. That's not playing ball. Right, let's see with my old eyes if I can get this lined up. Okay, so bring our bulb over that we made the last one. This is, I think, this way round we're going to go. Are we? No, whatever way round I go is going to be wrong. Put it that way. Oh, no. First time, come on. Right, so that's... Wow, first time. So what we're going to do now is just hold this in place with two AP screws. Now, you don't need to use oil on these because you're going into plastic. Don't use oil on these. Oil and plastic are not friends. Oh, oil and metal, definitely. Oil and plastic, not so much. So we're going to pop this one in. Oop. I'm trying to use the screwdriver they gave us because I know that everybody that's watching this as Make One owns that piece of kit. So I don't want to use anything you won't have unless I absolutely have to. So I'm trying to use the screwdriver they gave us as much as possible. So I know, you know, I can say, yeah, don't use this thing. Or, yeah, no, use this thing, it's fine. Okay, so that's that one in. Again, don't overscrew it because you'll reach the biting point and then all you can do is you can destroy the plastic it's going into. So these are cutting their own thread. But if you overscrew them, you'll destroy that thread. So once it bites and it's held, that's it. This isn't a bad screwdriver. I think I'm being a little bit too harsh on it. It's fine for now. Okay, so that's that one built. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that is it for this issue. That is all we are doing in this one. Coming up in the next one, we are putting in another panel. Let's have a chat. So that's that one done, nice and simple. I mean, nothing challenging about that, really. That was, you're going to start becoming an old hand at putting these panels on pretty soon. But it's done. So it's all got to be done, and it's done. And it looks nice. It's starting to look good with all that paneling on there. It's starting to look really nice. I'm pretty sure in the next one I'm going to install the energy diffuser into the top of it, so I'll have a lot more. It'll be a lot more symmetrical. And then we put in more panels as we go on through this month's pack. But I think it looks nice. I think it's looking good. Don't get disheartened if you're new to this hobby and you're thinking, "Oh, that's all I'm doing." For now, yeah. But trust me, there are ones coming up that are a lot more complicated. And it all needs to be done. That's the way it is. So the dome is actually done a lot sooner than you'd think. So the dome is complete by issue 16. The dome is pretty much complete. I kid you not. That's the electrics in. That's the PCB is in. There's seriously, by issue 16, we are pretty much done with the dome. And then we go in a direction I really didn't see coming, but we'll talk about that in issue 10. That's all for the build instructions. If you are just sticking around with the build instructions, thank you for stopping by. Please remember to like and subscribe. Helps the channel massively. We really do appreciate your help. If you stick around for our talk, we are talking 80s sci-fi. And we're starting off with, I've got really weird feelings about this one because I can remember watching this when I was a kid and it just used to freak me out. But it's this one. So yeah, Terrahawks. Terrahawks was mental. Everything about Terrahawks was mental. I'd forgot a lot of the actual backstory of the characters and things like that, and I certainly am no fan of it. But I remember it. I remember it being on Saturday mornings, and I think originally it was on Saturday afternoons, but I particularly remember watching either Saturday or Sunday mornings, one or the other. And the reason why I remember that is because it used to make me feel sick when I was eating my breakfast. The androids will come into that. Used to eat this kind of green goo and it would be dripping down their face and stuff, and it just used to make it's gross. But the actual story, the premise of Terrahawks is nuts. But before we get there, what is it and where did it come from? Right. Well, this originated in 1983. Now, this is an era where we're still getting those TV shows. They just don't really make today. We were still getting things like 18, Knight Rider, Manimal, Beauty and the Beast, shows like that they don't really do anymore. We were getting things, it was light entertainment, but it was decent entertainment. And the UK decided they want a bit of that. Rather than paying all of the money they were paying for the import in these shows, well, let's make our own. So I would imagine a producer at ITV who had a fondness for Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet thought, well, Gerry Anderson. So Gerry Anderson had not done a show using puppetry for over a decade. He stopped doing it. It wasn't his thing anymore. But they lured him back, and the idea was, we would like a show, a puppet show, a family show, like Thunderbirds, like Captain Scarlet. And that's where Terrahawks came from. Now, the big difference between Terrahawks and those earlier shows was budget. So the budget that Gerry Anderson would have had for the earlier shows, forget it. You ain't getting that budget for this. It's not going to happen. So Terrahawks didn't have a bad budget. For 1983, Terrahawks had a budget of £5 million, which for its day was decent, but it was a drop in the ocean compared to what it would have cost to make Thunderbirds. The first thing that had to go was the puppets. So Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet used marionettes, and it was Super Marionation. Gerry Anderson referred to it as. So it was marionette puppets. That had to go. They were expensive. So marionette puppets were expensive for a bulk of reasons. One, they all had to be carved out of wood. So it's pricey. Two, there was limited movement to a marionette puppet. I mean, we've seen, so they didn't want to do that because, again, with a much faster pace of television that was happening at the time, marionette puppets probably wasn't going to work. So this was the first Gerry Anderson puppet show to use latex puppets, similar to what Jim Henson was using at the time. And that was also the trend now. So there was a feel that marionettes were not going to work in the 80s. People weren't going to go for it. So, but however, with things like Return of the Jedi, getting a job lot of Muppets for its movie, Labyrinth and shows, and the Dark Crystal, something could work there. So they went ahead and they did the latex style puppets, which would reduce production costs massively. It would speed production up because you could have a greater cast of characters. And there was a lot more movement with them. So there is... I was going to say there's a charm, but there isn't. I was going to say there's a charm about these characters. There's not. Because this was my issue with it. So my issue with it is that even the good guys in Terrahawks just looked kind of weird and disturbing. There's something very uncanny valley about the human characters in Terrahawks. Take a look at some of these, and you'll kind of see what I'm saying. There's something a bit... I don't like that. But yeah, take a look. And that's just the good guys. It's like, you wait to see the bad guys. The bad guys are great. We've got some really good bad guys. And we'll go into those in some of the next episodes coming up. But yeah, so Terrahawks was what it was. And there are people of my era that all remember it. But what I remember of Terrahawks more than anything is no one was really into it. I didn't know anybody that was like running home to watch Terrahawks. It was something that was on. And I think that's its problem. It's not remembered with the same fondness as other shows. It's not remembered with the same fondness as Stingray, Captain Scarlet, Joe 90, Thunderbirds. It's not remembered in that way. It's almost like, remember Terrahawks? And it's like that weird kind of thing. It didn't have that same affection. The show itself is kind of like a mashup of Thunderbirds, because each of the protagonists have their own vehicle. So there's that kind of link with Thunderbirds. So they all had their own Thunderbird. Terrahawks was the same. They all had their own vehicle. So there's that link to it. And it's also about this group that are put together, the Terrahawks, to defend Earth. It's also set in the year 2020. So this is now actually a period piece. But so they were set to defend Earth. So Earth's Mars base is attacked and destroyed by the androids. So a team is put together called the Terrahawks, which are going to defend Earth. They're going to develop weapons and vehicles to fight off the oncoming attack. That's the story behind it. Based in South America, don't know why, but they were based in South America, all British accents, but based in South America. And it just gets weird. Honestly, it just gets really weird. We'll go into the characters in the next one. So I'll explain some of the backstory of some of the characters in the next one. And it's unusual. Again, it's one of those things you think, why? Why that choice? But we'll go into it. We'll also go into, as we dive deeper into this, why Terrahawks is probably problematic for this era. And a few other bits and pieces. The one thing everyone remembers about Terrahawks, I think, are the Zeroids. Here's a Zeroid. So that's a Zeroid. They were kind of like your soldiers, but I mean it's a ball. It's what it is. It's a ball. And the leader of the Zeroids was voiced by Windsor Davis, who was pretty much just channeling his character from an 80s British sitcom called It Ain't Our Fault, Mum. They just lifted that out and put it into this. That's what happened. And they had their counterpart were the I want to say they were called the cuboids. I don't think they were though, but they were cubes, which always bothered me as a kid because I'm like, well, how effective can you be as a cube? Do you know what I mean? The ball's going to have an advantage because it's going to roll straight into you. The cube, not so much. Terrahawks had a humour to it that the other Gerry Anderson shows didn't. So Terrahawks was very tongue-in-cheek and it was very wry and there was a lot of comic relief in it that wasn't in the more serious earlier Gerry Anderson ones, which again is why I think maybe it's not remembered as fondly because it almost felt as if the people making it were like, this ain't great, is it? So we're just kind of mocking itself. And I think that's part of the problem with Terrahawks. But in the next episode, we're going to go into the characters of Terrahawks. And trust me, they are nuts. But we will go through the background story of characters such as Dr. Tiger Neinstein. How good a name is that? And Zelda, of course, Zelda. We will come to Zelda. But that's all for this one. We'll be back very, very soon with issue 8 of Hachette's Build the Dalek. Thank you for stopping by. If you haven't yet, please remember to like and subscribe. In a world where you can be anything at all, just be nice, take care, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.